This is the plaintiff, Jenna Colton. She says, other than being a really awful person, the defendant is her ex. They lived together for a short time, and when they split up, they decided to split the early termination fees when they moved out, and the defendant hasn't paid a penny of it. The guy's nothing more than a liar who's pretending to take care of it but isn't. She's tired of it and is suing for the $2,440.50 she's owed. This is the defendant, Oscar Moreno. He says they lived together for 45 days. She said she wanted to keep the apartment. He moved out, and that was that. Now, seems she's changed her mind, broke the lease, and is now coming after him. It has nothing to do with him, so how's that fair? He's accused of not holding up his end of the bargain.
All parties, please raise your right hands. Be seated. Come to order. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Jenna Colton, you are suing your former boyfriend, Oscar Moreno, for $2,440.50 that you say you were out on his half of fees in order to terminate the apartment that you both signed on to. So you guys were dating for how long?
On and off for about 4 years.
Then you decided to live together. Was that the first time you were going to live together?
Yes.
So you decided to move in together and you rent this apartment and you sign a lease for how long, a year?
A year, yes.
All right. And how does that go for you? How does that work out?
Not too good.
Not too good. What
No.
happened?
We were fighting a lot. So about 45 days later, a month and a half, we decided to end it.
Now, here's what I don't get, okay? You're dating for 4 years. Were you fighting a lot before you moved in together?
Yes.
Okay. So you figured that moving in together might solve the problem?
Perhaps.
Or you just loved each other and you... So you...
It was the latter, yeah.
Okay. All right. Who broke up with who?
Mutual.
Really? I find that's almost never the case.
Pretty much.
Who broke up with who?
Mutual.
Really? You're both sticking by your guns. All right. So why did it last only 45 days?
When you live with somebody, it's a different animal. That's about
How
it.
often would you guys see each other when you didn't live together?
A lot.
If you saw each other a lot, didn't the animal come out already in 3 years?
You would think.
I think you panicked, or you panicked. In any event, you decide that you're not going to live together. You're fighting every day.
Every day.
And in fact, it actually it's not a laughing matter. You guys actually ended up having the police called on you, or you guys called the police?
Yeah, we had a fight.
Physical?
It got a little physical, pushing and shoving.
What was it about?
Not sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Did anybody end up with a police record over it?
No.
No.
All right. So then what happens?
So we broke the lease. The penalties came. They were 2 months.
Who moved out?
He moved out first.
And then you moved out?
I had to stay for 2 months because the penalties was 60 days notice and then
Did
2
anybody
months.
talk about this when on the day that he moves out? Was it a planned move out, or did he just move out, in the middle of that chaotic?
He just kind of moved out in the middle of the chaos.
All right. And so did the two of you talk about, hey, what about our financial responsibilities? How are we going to do this?
Yes.
How did you talk?
We talked over the phone and we agreed that I would pay the 60 days notice since I was already staying and that he would pay the 2 months penalty.
So you would split
Correct.
the amount of money it would cost, but you would get to live there for 2 months.
Right.
But you would split the amount of money it would cost, but he doesn't get to live there for 2 months.
Yeah, we didn't want to live together.
No, I know that. I'm saying, however, he would pay for fully half of whatever it would cost,
To
and the
terminate.
net would be to break the lease, and you get to live there for 2 months.
Okay, yes.
You're following what I'm saying? Okay. All right, so he agreed to that.
Yes, he did.
Okay, and you say that did not happen.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Pretty much, she wanted to keep the apartment. She didn't want to move back to her parents' house. I was going to live on my own as it is, so it was her idea to get the apartment. I was like, you know what?
How big was the gun she put to your head, my friend?
No gun. No gun. Just things you
Okay.
do. You want to make the other person happy, so I've been on my own. She hasn't been out of her parents' house
I want to make you
before.
happy, but just for 45 days. Okay. All right. So, okay. Your version, you see how I just gave her a little grief for her version? I got to give you a little grief for your version. Your version is you sign a lease. You obligate yourself.
Well,
Was I done with your version? I've only just begun with your version. And then you get to walk away and have zero responsibility. How does that seem rational?
I was supposed to keep the apartment before we even moved in together. When we spoke together, I said, Jenna, if we do this, I already have my own place. I can't go back to my parents' house. If we break this, anything happens, I keep the apartment. That was the initial agreement before I even signed the lease, because I was thinking I'm going to keep the apartment. I've been on my own for a while. I've been on my own since I was 16. It's no biggie. I can do it. She didn't want to move back to her parents' house, so I was like, all right, you keep the apartment. You want to play big girl, then be a big girl. I'm out. You do what you got to do.
Okay, but when you say you're out, that's fine. You're out as of that moment, but where do you get the second part of that, which is, and if there's any consequences to me being out, you have to pay for them all yourself. In other words, if she had moved back to her parents and you had moved out as well, there would still be X amount of cost to breaking the lease.
But
what you feel is that it's unfair that she got to live there for the 2 months. It's like I was cross-examining her. You feel it's unfair that she got to live there for the 2 months. And what did you end up doing? Did you have to go back to your parents?
No, I ended up moving back with my sister.
Move back with your sister.
Yeah. I initially was supposed to keep the apartment. That's what the whole situation was.
So you want me to believe that she told you, okay, no problem, you get to walk away and you don't have to pay any fees for termination?
After the whole situation, we never really talked.
What do you, let me just out of curiosity, I want to pick your brain. Okay. What do you think is appropriate? Do you think you should be able to just walk away? You know she didn't keep the apartment. You know you're out of the apartment. You know that there was the landlord. You've seen the bill, right? Did anybody mail you the bill? Hand me the bill from the landlord. Okay, the landlord charges a certain amount of money. They charge a termination fee, right? And what else? You're suing for but you're suing for more than just his half of the termination fee. What is it you're suing for?
The entire penalty of what it took to take.
Okay, but you say that the penalty is there's a termination fee and there's a 2-month notice. So and the termination fee is 2 months notice, so it's 4-month penalty. Show me where that's in writing. Is that in your lease?
Here's the copy of the lease.
Okay. Did you tell him he had to go?
No, I don't think it was like that.
How was it?
Like I said, we were fighting a lot. It got a little physical, pushing, shoving. I mean, that wasn't really...
Did he ask to stay? Not with you, but I mean, did he ask to continue to live there and you to go home to your parents?
Yes.
And what did you tell him?
No.
Legally, I wasn't legally able to stay at the apartment either, Your Honor.
Why? It was a restraining order?
Just not restraining order, just court mandated after everything was settled.
I'm sorry, that's a restraining order. The court mandated you move out?
Just no contact.
The court mandated no contact. Is there a criminal case pending?
No.
So how did you end up in court? I mean, there's a case for it to be in court and a judge to say something, there's a case. What's going on?
Okay, well, we had a physical altercation. There were animals involved, and he decided to call the cops on himself.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
We got into a fight at our home because my animals were injured. I have 2 dogs. They were injured, so I tried to call the vet, and he restrained me, and that's when we got...
They were injured by him?
Yes.
Okay, then he tried to restrain you, and therefore what?
I left. I had to take them to the vet.
Okay, I understand that, but what happened in court is what I'm asking. Was there an order for him to leave the apartment?
And welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So if you were living, or not living, but if you were dating somebody and you got in a lot of fights, would you take it to the next step and move in with that person?
No, that would make it so much worse. Spending too much time with somebody is just ridiculous.
But do people just fight? Is that part of relationships, or is that kind of a warning sign?
Yeah, everybody fights. It just depends on how you work it out.
So you might do it. You're open to it. How about you?
No, I wouldn't do it at all. It's just a precursor to more fights, so no, bad idea.
But better fights.
Maybe.
right? Going inside the courtroom.
We were to have no contact until court. So the court date was after the fight, obviously.
Okay, so essentially there was a court order that he couldn't stay in the apartment?
Yes.
And then despite that, or before that, is it that he asked you, I want to stay in the apartment?
After the confrontation.
But before the court order? And is the court order still in effect? What's going to happen with court? Did you drop it? What's happened with court?
I dropped it.
This is not a complicated question.
I dropped it.
Okay. What day did this fight happen?
November 2nd.
Had the rent been paid?
For November, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. If it happened on November 2nd, why did you break the lease in December as opposed to November?
I wanted to stay there. I thought that I could pull it off, and then I realized that I couldn't.
See, here's what's going on. Let me just explain something. Okay. When two people agree to live together, whether they're boyfriend, girlfriend, or non-romantic, there are 2 different contracts going on. One is the one that's in writing to the landlord, okay? The landlord could go after you for what's owed. The landlord could go after you for what's owed. It's up to the landlord who they want, or they could go after both of you. It doesn't matter. They could pick who has better credit and go after them, all right? But there's another contract that's going on that's a verbal contract between the two people. And that's, we're going to go ahead and stick through this for 12 months. Now, when you are at each other's throats, physically, it's a really good idea to break that verbal contract. The problem is that that doesn't mean that there aren't monetary consequences to breaking that agreement between the two of you. And so what I have to decide is how much of this is his responsibility. You want me to turn around and say, yeah, you got kicked out, you had a court order that she sought and got to make sure you didn't come back, but he has to pay you those 2 months rent. In a situation that, and I realize that you had to do those 2 months rent, but he could have, I have plenty of people who end up in front of me where they both live there for the 2 months. They just live in separate rooms and they just try to be civil with each other. You guys couldn't, that's fine. Okay? But the situation that I have here is one where you admit that you were trying to swing it alone, and that's exactly what he says. She told me to get out, and I couldn't take over. I wanted to take over, but I don't get to take over. I get kicked out. I get a court order telling me to stay out, and then I got to pay a full half of it, so then she ends up having, getting to stay there alone for 2 months, but I got to foot it. Plus, you're also charging him for the utilities that you used that he didn't use up during those months. So it just doesn't seem fair to me. I think it's fair that he pay half of the termination fee, okay? But when you kicked him out, he couldn't use those 2 months. That was his right. If he has to pay for it, he should be able to use it too. That's what people do when they're in this situation. If you can't, that's fine. If you both ended up leaving, I understand. But it just doesn't seem right that you say, get out, I'm going to handle this on my own. You try to handle it on your own in December, then you change your mind, and then you want to change an agreement you guys entered into a month earlier. No. But you don't get to just walk away scot-free when it turns out she can't do it. Because when she entered into the obligation back in early whatever that you guys moved in together in October, at that time, she was always going to go through these 12 months with you at her side helping to pay the rent. So you have to pay half of the termination fee, I find in favor of the plaintiff, in the amount of $959. That's my verdict.
Hold it right there, please.
Well, the defendant comes out, it wasn't quite as simple as you thought it was going to be, was it?
No, not at all.
No. So what's your feeling on how the judges ruled here?
Favor, I mean, I designed the contract, so I am legally binding by that, but nothing more than that. She should have been able to handle it on her own if she felt like she could.
You have any response to what she said in the courtroom about that scene where the animals got injured? And
It's not really. I mean, it's already taken care of, obviously. Just trying to move forward from here.
45-day relationship. You didn't know before you moved in, obviously?
Guess not, lesson learned.
All right. You head right around the corner there. Let's see what the plaintiff has to say about the outcome here. Just step right in here. And satisfied with how this works out?
Not completely. No. I think he should have owed more, but it's better than nothing.
What about that? How can a relationship begin and end 45 days later? You didn't know. What'd you learn in 45 days that you didn't know before?
I learned that I should have ended it way long ago.
Well, what did you see in him when it was going well?
Honestly, I'm not sure anymore.
All right, Harvey?
Okay, Kurt, it is insane to move in with somebody who you're not really getting along with, even if you feel passion, because it is not going to get better. When you're in your best behavior, it only gets worse once you get closer. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.